So let's call this Tuesday, June 9th, 2020, Budget Committee meeting to order. We will do a voice roll call. Mr. Bowens?
Yeah.
Commissioner Stubblefield?
Here.
Commissioner Glover?
Here.
Commissioner Wade?
Here.
The chair's present, so that's 5. We've got a quorum. The minutes are before you. Are there any additions or subtractions to them as written?
There's couples over there. I just can't remember were the two guys from Animal Control, Randy and Randy, both of them's names were Randy?
Yes, both
I
were
just
Randy.
couldn't remember if that thing was on.
Yeah, kind of like Daryl and Daryl.
Motion.
And my other brother.
Yeah.
I might want to ask the mayor something he was talking about. Mayor?
Yeah.
All right, this money that we, in the minutes for the day that the state was going to provide to us, is that you talking some about, looked like there was going to be some changes in what the state was going to provide?
I haven't heard any changes to us. No. Just maybe to the schools across the state.
All right. Okay.
I'll second.
I've got a motion by Commissioner Bowens and I got a second by Commissioner Wade. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. First on our agenda tonight is Corey Stewart, Solid Waste Director, to present Budget Amendment number 39 for the Transfer Station Department. Corey, are you online?
Yes, sir.
All right, what you got?
There was 3 line items that we saw were going over, one being bank charges for the credit card payments, one for maintenance on equipment from the loader repairs, and then the disposal fees. All 3 are totaling $169,590.
Any questions for our Solid Waste Director?
Ask her to go through the breakdown, this different categories.
You want the,
Yeah. How much for the credit card, how much for the?
if you will,
It's on the screen.
I'll break it down. The bank charges, credit card payments.
Wait a minute, here it is, excuse me.
You got it?
Look over here.
Okay.
Excuse me.
So actually, y'all worked on this budget amendment with her, and we picked these 3 items because they're definitely gonna go over budget, but there's other items in the transfer station that will be less. The $169,590, I don't believe she'll go over by that much, but those were just numbers that we know she was gonna go over.
Commissioner Glover, I do want to point out, we've had conversation before, bank charges, credit card payments are going to go over. So we're having to adjust our budget for us paying the credit card fees. Where I was in an office today in the county and they charge you to use your credit card. So just keep that in mind when we get into solid waste on Thursday night.
Sure will.
Move for approval.
I've got a motion to approve by Commissioner Wade. Do I have a second? I got a second by Commissioner Glover. We'll do a roll call vote. Commissioner Wade?
Aye.
Commissioner Glover?
Aye.
Commissioner Stubblefield?
Aye.
Commissioner Bowens?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. The ayes have it. All right. Thank you.
Let me note on this one, y'all. It's not balanced, so it needs 2 readings. So you'll want to pull it separate when you do your,
Will we have to suspend the rules to do it?
yes.
You want to get it in before June 30th, right?
Yes, sir.
Make sure you suspend the rules.
Do we?
We'll do that at the county.
Do-
Usually
what-
commission meeting.
Yeah. Yeah, just 1 reading through us, 2 readings at the county
Two
commission
readings,
level.
Oh,
Yeah.
Sorry,
I thought we meant here.
yeah, I did.
sorry.
If someone on the committee will try to remind me for Monday night.
We could do this, it's like gonna be the first, I'll let her know, this will be like the first resolution and
Thank you.
everything, so maybe we'll have it, the first reading, and then you pull this one out and suspend the rules and
Thank you.
We don't have any others that we have to suspend rules on, do we?
not that I'm aware
Well,
of.
no. You're right. Just the one.
I'm
Just the
aware
one. Number 2 on our agenda tonight is Dr. Chris Causey, School Director, to present Fund 141 Balanced Budget Amendment. Number 4. Dr. Causey, are you there?
Yes, sir. Can everyone hear me okay?
Loud and clear, yes, sir.
On budget amendment number 40, this was actually approved unanimously by the Board of Education back in May. If you notice, the total for this balanced budget amendment is $331,500. Both on, if you notice, a lot of this money that we got from the federal government that we used for our feeding program, and then just a few other minor changes on the expense side. But like I said, balanced budget amendment, and I ask for your approval.
Any questions for Dr. Causey on this?
I move that we approve
I've got a motion by Commissioner Glover to approve
the resolution.
this resolution number 40. I've got a second by Commissioner Bowens. Y'all ready to vote? Commissioner Bowens? Commissioner Stubblefield?
Aye.
Commissioner Glover? Commissioner Wade?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. 5 ayes. Ayes have it. All right. The next thing I have from Dr. Causey is looks like a resolution to set up a reserve in the amount of $1.2 million. You want to talk to us about that, please?
Yes, sir. For the last couple of years, we have really lamented over the boiler system over at Bransford Elementary School, which is older than most of us that are listening to this phone call. And we've actually, we've pieced it together, we Band-Aided it together. We got very fortunate back in the winter that we had a warm winter and it didn't cause us too much grief. But just to put in perspective, we're talking about steam that has actually made the floor buckle in spots and too hot for the kids to even touch. We also have those metal units that are in each of the classrooms and that are sometimes too hot to touch and sometimes don't work at all. And we also, of course, have had some window issues there. We put new roof on it last year using general budget. And the idea not too long ago was to use any extra remaining money from the Coopertown Elementary School bond. However, as that project continues, we still have enough money for the project itself. It just doesn't look like we'll have any left over for Bransford. So we reached out to Train, and we got an original amount for about $1.6 million that would do HVAC only. And you're putting big units on top of our brand new roof, which didn't make a whole lot of sense either. So we reached out to another company that's involved with the superintendents across the state and met up with Energy Systems Group, who came and did just kind of a brief overview and looked at it and gave us some ideas. And for free, they continued. And they came back with a proposal of $1.2 million, and it's actually $1,193,563, and that would do HVAC throughout the entire building, giving each teacher their separate unit there outside, and then it would also replace all of the old windows. And I hope some of you all have seen the pictures of that project because it's pretty remarkable. If you think about what we did at Westside, it would replace the windows with brand new glass from Springfield Glass, local company, as well as some of those silver end pieces there to look pretty good and not even have to spend that much money on the glass itself. So it's a very good project. I know Trace looked at it. I know Clyde's looked at the contract. So that's when we started talking to finance about, we are saving funds this year to the tune of probably close to $700,000. And how do we kind of tap into that to make sure that we can do this without borrowing money? And we do have a very healthy fund balance. So we start talking about a resolution kind of like we do for our laptops that would set aside $1.2 million so that we can take care of this project relatively quickly before winter comes. And so the resolution is in front of you, and I will entertain any questions that the committee may have.
Well, at one point, we actually did borrow money from Bransford, and unfortunately, that money's being spent on Coopertown. And I apologize to this committee and to the commissioners listening that I allowed that to happen. Had we had hard bid and got a solid number, we wouldn't be in this situation today. So
Well,
it's
I got a question. What was the original number that was supposed to be in the Coopertown borrowing for
It
Branson?
was $15 million, but there was going to be about $1 million left for this.
So we got $1 million overruns on Coopertown?
$1 million won't even solve it. It's,
Right now, not necessarily, sir, but right now, I don't even have the renovation budget yet for Coopertown. So we may not know that until it's way past due there. So that's why this was the better option.
Chris, we borrowed money on Coopertown without having all the numbers we needed to do the job? Is that what I heard you say?
We didn't have hard prices, no, sir. We bid out those, but we were assured it would not be over the 15 million to begin with.
Well, I'm gonna say, and it probably won't be a fabulous with some of y'all, but we ought to go back to the company that gives us a hard number that we worked with in the past.
well, I'll never vote for another one like this again, and I'll take the responsibility for this one.
Well, we all have
But
to.
I was told that it would not go over 15 million, that was going to get a new Branford, and here we are today at.
We don't even know if the 15 million will do it.
I don't think it will. I think we'll have to cut stuff to do it at 15.
And that's usually when we get into problems, like at Ridgetop, there's a problem up there where they cut things at the end, and we're ending up with water, as I understand, flowing in to the city's sewer system.
No, sir, that is not correct. The problems at Ridgetop are not the school system related.
That's what I've been told, so I'll talk to you later about it. I'd
Okay.
appreciate it. Share
Yes,
with
sir.
you. There's somebody
Absolutely.
and has shared that.
Well, there's no doubt that Bransford needs this. They need the windows. They need the heat.
I agree, Bransford needs it.
I'm saddened that I supported something at $15 million and it didn't come to be.
Well,
Yeah.
well, next time around, we'll be a little bit harder to get my vote.
So I'll entertain a motion to approve this.
I'm not gonna make the motion to do it. I can tell you that. Whichever one of y'all was.
Will it?
Bransford needs it.
It needs it, yeah. I've got a motion by Commissioner
Bransford
Stubblefield
needs it.
I'll vote
to
for this.
approve.
Is this a hard number?
Who knows?
I would assume this is
Yes,
hard.
sir, it's in the contract.
Okay. So we've got a hard number, and it was a shy of 1.2 from what it sounded like, 1.193. I've got a motion by Commissioner Stubblefield. Do I have a second?
I'll second it because they need a borrow with it.
They sure do. They absolutely do.
Mhm, they need it.
I've got a second by Commissioner Bowens. Any more questions? Let's vote. Commissioner Bowens,
Yes.
Commissioner Stubblefield,
Yes.
Commissioner Glover,
Yes.
Commissioner Wade.
Yes.
Chair votes aye, so the ayes have it. Thank you, Dr. Causey.
Thank you.
You got something else for him?
Yeah, are we going to do it now or we
You
talk
got
about
number
it?
42 that was the next one that y'all just approved last night at your meeting.
Yes, ma'am.
He does. Let's see that. Care to-
Budget amendment number 42 is an increase in our basic education program, our BEP money for the 1920 school year based on the growth from our Tennessee Connections Academy. We've already done one amendment based on half of the money or up to half of the money. And now we are looking at an increase again for the June payment. This estimated at 2.4 million. We won't know that exact number until it does come in, but that's about as close as we can get right now. And then you will see the expense there, other contracted services, which means we will pay that out to the company that provides that service. The rest of the amendment just deals with moving $23,000 from diesel fuel into transportation capital outlay. But it's pretty much money in, money out based on our virtual school.
Questions for Dr. Causey?
I got a question about the conversation we had the other day.
Yes, sir.
The email that came out to us indicated the state wasn't going to be funding giving the full funding for the pay raises.
The 2% increase has been proposed to go down to 0%. And that was proposed by the governor. That has been not finalized yet. We don't get final BEP payments until July. estimation, I'm sorry. We won't get that until July. This amendment deals with 1920 budget and the growth money that we've seen from the increase in enrollment from our virtual school. But as far as going forward, we don't know what that exact amount is. I will let you in. We continue to clean up data and schedules. And BEP is a neat little thing because you can actually go back and correct data from pretty much the beginning of the school year. And we've corrected a lot of data through our virtual school and some other power school issues. And we actually are going to see an increase even without the 0% in the lack of the 2% increase. So I cannot really speak on that until we get the final July number. So just to let you know, you're going to see an increase in BEP. I just don't know what percentage it is, but it's going to be based on the corrections we've made, not necessarily any increase that the governor makes. And I do know that I think one of the committees in our state legislature is looking at his proposed budget now, because if you continued reading, of course, he took the 2% away, but he did include the increase in salaries for the executive office, which is his own pay scale and other people that serve him. So I don't think we've heard the last word on his budget just yet.
And I understand. I just want you to know I have no problem with the 2.4 million on this resolution number 42. I got a question I want to talk further with you about.
So let's vote on 42, and then we'll get into what
the other
issues. So I'll entertain a motion to approve Dr. Causey's number 42.
I'll make a motion.
I've got a motion by Commissioner Glover. Do I have a second? I've got a second by Commissioner Stubblefield. Vote.
Aye.
Commissioner Glover.
Aye.
Commissioner Stubblefield.
Aye.
Commissioner Bowens. The chair votes aye, so the ayes have it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Dennis, you got a question for?
Yeah. I want to go a little bit further. How much is the 2% raise? How much in dollars are we talking about next year's budgets that you had in my opinion, you've had your funding for that cut? How much is in that budget? How much would that be?
You're talking about the step raise is what we're talking about. So I don't want to get into the weeds, but I will tell you a lot of that has to do with how many teachers are leaving us and how many teachers are coming on board. So let's say we retire a teacher that's got 30 years and they're making $60,000, $55,000, and then we hire a brand new teacher to take their place at $40,000. Well, that's $15,000 that was originally budgeted that I'm no longer spending, which can go towards 10 other people's step raise or 50 other people's step raise. Yes, sir.
As far as I'm concerned, you're getting into the weeds. All I'm asking, in your budget, you had to, if the governor said he was going to give you this much money, how much is it in that budget that does not have a funding source now?
When we look at pretty much the budget between 1920 and 2021, you're looking at about $1 million.
Okay, so we got $1 million in there that's got to be funded from other sources. Your fund balance.
But that's let me back up. That's budgeted. That's not necessarily expended. So when you look at how much we budgeted last year as compared to what because we always budget a little bit more, and you know that because we always have about 4 to 5% wiggle room there anyway, based on teacher insurance and everything else in that line item. Or on that page.
Yeah.
So there's a lot more wiggle room than even $1 million. That's why I say I can't really speak real heavily on it until I know what that July number is.
What he's admitting to.
What are other counties doing with their 2% raise?
Right now, all the other counties had resolved to a step raise, which means they didn't go 2%. When we do a 2% raise, that's a 2% on the salary scale. So we bump everybody up 2%. Without it, then they just have a step raise, meaning that if you have 14 years of service, that's where you land on the pay scale as opposed to 13 years of service. So a lot of people call it a raise, but it's just moving up the scale.
So are we giving a 2% and a step, or is it just involved in the step?
No, sir. Just a step.
Okay.
And that's what everyone else is doing. That's what the MOU with our teachers say. That's what most of Middle Tennessee that I know, or they're not freezing pay. They're just using the salary schedule that they've been voting on every year.
Gotcha. So if that's $1 million of maintenance effort for next year.
Yeah. This increases our maintenance of effort. You're sitting here and we're using fund balance. I know we got plenty of room to go. Our maintenance of effort says 3 million, but we're using up fund balances.
Well, I wouldn't say we got plenty to go. I think we should be sitting on a 10%.
Oh, I
fund
agree.
balance.
I agree.
But yeah, but for state minimum, yes, I agree with what you're saying.
We're probably going to be okay. But my point is, I do not want, because of the state not funding, giving you this money, I don't want it to cost the county taxpayers and the maintenance of effort area. So I don't know if there's any way we can fix that down the road or not, but it looks to me like we've got another $1 million we'll have to make sure and cover next year. When you were going to cover it with the state money.
I believe once July comes out, I think you'll be pleasantly surprised on what number I can give you.
Okay.
That, and I will have to say, this is why I have fought against doing an early budget, because we don't have final numbers. And so this is the year that we had to do it, and this is exactly what I did not want. We stepped in it, we don't know what we got. So
yeah,
I'm hoping next year we can go back to the way it's always been. We get final numbers, and it's easier to work with final numbers.
We are, as a budget committee, we've got county commissioners pushing for us to close early and do this. Now we can tell them why we don't.
This is exactly why.
This is a good example of why we don't need to be doing it. Okay. I'm through.
Thank you, Dr. Causey.
Thank you.
All right, let's move right along to number 3. We've got Sheriff Michael Van Dyke to present the Drug Fund 122 fiscal year 2021 budget.
Making a request for next year to have the same drug control fund as we had this year.
Any questions for the sheriff? I'll entertain a motion to approve. Got a motion by Commissioner Glover to approve. Do I have a second? Second by Commissioner Bowens. Any questions? Let's vote. Commissioner Bowens?
Aye.
Commissioner Stubblefield?
Aye.
Commissioner Glover?
Aye.
Commissioner Wade?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. The ayes have it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Hoover, can I say something, Commissioner Hoover?
You sure can, Commissioner Hogan.
I'd like to compliment our sheriff and his staff for what they're doing in these trying times. They've been verbally beat on, slandered, and everything else, and I think we got one heck of a department. And I want to commend our not only the county sheriffs and his staff, but also the city and the people taking care of our safety as we go out in this county. And so they've been beat on pretty good lately, and I just want to say, way to go, team. Hang in there with them.
I echo that, and Roberts County is very blessed.
Yes, sir.
All right. Let's move on to number 4. We've got Chet Biggers, IT Director, to discuss the county's options regarding cybersecurity and potential need for cyber insurance. And I believe we also got Brandon Miller on the line if we've got any questions for him. Yep, I do see him on there.
He's with Arthur J. Gallagher.
Okay. So, Chet, you want to kind of discuss where we're at on that?
Yeah, so last year, we looked into getting this insurance, cybersecurity insurance, and we voted against it. But this year I was approached by Jody about looking into it more seriously, and I did. I talked with CISO of the state, Chief Executive or Information Technology Officer, and he told me that they've got it. They've got a pretty big policy themselves, and other Gallatin, other local IT departments and technology folks, and they've got it too. So, it's all about the mitigation if something like that happens. You get compromised, it's having the resources to get past it as quickly as possible. Being a one-man person over here, that scares me. Because that's a huge feat that would be on me, and really I'm no security expert. It gets really complicated, but with this policy that that's been handed to us by Brandon, it gives us the opportunity to work with security coaches. Once a compromise takes place, they can come in and help you not only with the mitigation, but the lawyers, the attorneys who you need to talk to, depending on what kind of compromise it was.
Chad, is there anything in this where they'll look at our security that we have in place today and advise us on changes we need to make?
There's a couple of policies that we're looking into. The one that we have now, it doesn't.
Okay.
It doesn't.
Provide training for our employees? Any type of training or any type of?
The AIG plan, which we haven't got it from yet, it does. It has training, basically the same thing that I'm doing now as far as phishing tests, training, security training, things like that. They take control of that and start doing that.
The AIG is a little better, right?
Yes, and they also offer a front end piece that totally it's in between the DMARC and the internet, and anything that comes in this building or the sheriff's building, it's another layer of security that is constantly updated with malware websites and things like that, where I can log into the Sonic Wall now and I can see them touching, and I can see them, the packets being dropped where they're coming from China and Russia. I see all this stuff. But this device would keep them from even going that far and getting into my device.
Okay.
This first policy that we have now it's like $7,200 per year, and it covers this building, sheriffs, anything basically that I touch, whether it's EMS, whether it's solid waste. You know, they're processing credit cards out there. I think
Do you process the health bar?
No, sir.
Who's covered under them?
State.
I mean, you're talking about us letting information get out that we could get sued about, right?
Sure.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's protection under any HIPAA.
Yeah.
You get caught, exposure to HIPAA information, then this policy would help pay for that.
You're the IT director of Robertson County. Is it your suggestion that we purchase this insurance?
There's no doubt. This day and age, with things like they are, it would be foolish not to.
Every small business has to do something like this to protect it.
Chad come to me with this. I trust Chad's opinion. If he thinks it's something we need, and he's comfortable with it, I'm not going to question.
I agree. The only thing I would suggest is Chet, you just said you're not a security expert. So I don't want an insurance company to protect me after the leaks happened. I want them to protect me on the front end too by giving good training and advice to what steps you need to put in place to help you lead you down to making us a more secure.
Well, Commissioner Wade,
I'm not putting you down. You said
it.
No,
but
I know it. I've seen it already.
And I can use all the help I can get.
And I want it.
And I know that the AIG policy, and Brandon, just pop in here anytime you need to.
Well, so I can make comment if you like. I was just trying to be quiet as you guys discussed. So
when will we get a price on the AIG?
So it will be probably another couple weeks before we get a price on the AIG, but I will tell you that I would expect it to be quite a bit more than the offer that we have had that Chet is discussing here. I would like to comment on a couple of things, Chet, if I could. So as far as the training and support and some of that other information, Gallagher offers access to something called eRisk Hub, which does give the county kind of free access to a lot of support material. It does not provide training to your employee base. We do have a separate training platform if the county is interested in that, some of which might have a little cyber component, but we do offer that, and we're happy to provide that if the county is interested. This particular issue, I know you mentioned about, hey, risk control, consulting, things like that. We view it as two different things. There is a front side consulting issue and there is a backside insurance issue. Right now we're addressing the backside insurance issue with this program of approximately $7,200. We do think it would help mitigate the cyber exposures that you guys have. The consulting side, we're happy to help you guys find the appropriate consulting to help Chet work on making you guys a less riskier, if you will, and putting more protections in place. And I'll leave it at that, and happy to answer questions, or if Chet has questions of me.
I got a question. Brandon, my name's Dennis Way. I've read up about cities that have had malware come in that shuts them down, locks up all their files, and that scares me to death if somebody up here in the finance department was to open an email and all of a sudden it spreads throughout their network and locks all these files down. What would this insurance policy do to help us?
Yeah, so the first thing that happens there when you have a system locked down is you guys would reach out to the privacy breach coach, who would happen to be an attorney. And they will begin to lead you through the process to figure out a way to stop the loss of data or stop the release of data, and then start bringing you guys back, whether that brings in forensic people to figure out how they got in and to plug that hole. This policy addresses all of those issues. So it addresses the privacy release of data, so the notification requirements as far as that, any liability that you guys might have, and then those first-party dollars that you just mentioned, the privacy breach coach, the forensic people, all those people that have to come in to plug the hole and fix the system. This policy does cover it. It has limits. Again, it's not endless. It has limits. It's $1 million policy, but that is exactly what this policy is for, as well as some extortion events and some things like that.
So it's the limitations, and we don't have anything on that yet. When will we get more idea about what the policy covers and what the limits are?
You do have, so the limits are $1 million, I'm sorry, and the quote has been provided, so I think Chet has a copy of the quote. You will see a bunch of different coverage lines inside that quote. Privacy liability, privacy regulatory, security breach, security liability, it goes on, and you see the limits that are provided.
I'd like to see a copy.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
And I'm a part of CISA. They scan my networks weekly, and they're from the Department of Homeland Security.
Yeah.
So what they're doing is they're touching our network. They're touching the sheriff's network, and they're seeing if any ports are open for anybody to get in, and I get weekly reports on that. And it's not like I don't stay on top of it.
I'm not questioning that.
Oh, I know.
I'm not.
But I do, if something were to happen,
You would need the additional staff, which
I
they're going to bring you in to do.
It gets to where it's, sure, I can remove a virus, I can plug a hole, but there's other things to stop it that I don't know nothing about.
I agree. I'm all for it. $7,200 is cheap, in my opinion. I pay that more for my accounting practice.
Get Tink in the kitchen?
Not likely. I mean, their IP addresses change constantly.
China, Russia.
Jody got an email the other day, and
They know their election.
she didn't open the email. He said, "This was strange." So I said, "Well, just forward it to me." And sure enough, it got past our system. But by the time 2 or 3 days later, I put it on a bench system that I have cloned. Anything happens to it, it's off the network. I just wipe it and reload the thing. So that's a system that I put it on, and the website was already dead. So it was already past prime and already shot. Someone from the sheriff's department sent something to Donna the other day about wanting her payroll changed to another bank. So Donna said, strange. So Donna called her and she said, "No, I haven't sent you anything like that."
Yeah,
so her email account had gotten spoofed, and because of the prior training that we've had, these
The girls are
boys
watching.
really great.
That's
That's good.
awesome.
They need to stay up.
Technically, I didn't call him, I deleted it, and then I called him, he had to retrieve it. Because I said, this is
So-
bad.
So I'm all for this,
I have
but
none of them.
my question is, why are we discussing it now instead of why was this not put in our budget?
Here's the deal in the budget. Just so you know, in our budget, under that line item, we get reimbursed, from the city on the airport board, their half, and then we also get reimbursed from the industrial development board. Last year, I had an extra 10,000 in there, and this year I think I had an extra 6,000 in there. So it might not be specifically in there, but it's okay to pay it out of that line item. We
you've
just
got
need
to know.
approval.
I mean,
I can't sign it to obligate the county until I'm given the okay by this committee.
And I figured we could find the $7,000 easy, so, but well, it'll be in next year's budget,
The line item.
a line item in next year's budget.
So we all know.
So we'll
Do we need to
We'll
approve
need-
this expenditure?
need a motion for this, yes.
Is-
To carry it further, or you just want to work on this policy, or you want to wait, or?
Well, I'm gonna leave that up to you. I mean,
But if the AMG comes in, it'll be a lot more than the 72.
do you want to wait?
It's according to what Brandon's definition of a lot more is, right?
Do you want to wait till AIG comes in and then we make a decision?
Hey, Brandon, so you think it'll be a couple of weeks?
I certainly think it'll be before 7/1. Yes, I'm happy to. This policy in theory would run in line with all of your other policies effective July 1st. So as long as we get that quote back from AIG before then, we can provide it to you. You guys make your final decision. It's perfectly all right with me.
What if we went ahead and got this policy, and 3 months later we decided to move to AIG?
Yeah, so that would not really work. A couple issues. There are contractual cancellation requirements, so you'd actually have to pay more than your pro rata share of this premium on this particular policy that you bound. I really think we'll have the AIG quote shortly, certainly before 7/1, and you guys can make your decision on how do you want to proceed.
Can we wait? Can we wait until that it comes in?
Well, we
Need to
really
have a
need
budget
to do,
amendment.
could we put a cap on it?
We're going to have, let's see, when the budget committee's meeting again.
You have your public hearing a week from today on the 16th, and then y'all will vote on the budget on the 22nd.
So we've got several occasions we are going to be meeting, so we won't have to call a special call just for that, if we want to wait.
Hey, Brandon,
Yes, sir.
so you notice we talked about Jason over at the Sheriff's Department. He's going to fill out that same application that I filled out for AIG.
So it is likely that he might. Once we begin conversations with the underwriter at AIG and express how Robertson County addresses their systems, we will see if more additional questions are required. Right now, until we have those conversations, I really don't know if your particular app will be satisfactory or they're going to require more.
Okay, so when you said it's going to cost significantly more, can you elaborate on that a little bit?
Yeah,
What?
I can only guess, and if I had to guess, I would say hopefully we can beat double from AIG. So more in the 14,000 range would be my guess. I don't know for sure. We have to really wait for the quote. But if you're asking my professional opinion, something around there.
And the only difference in the two policies to me is the piece that sits in between the internet and my firewall.
Mm-hmm.
But that's pretty valuable, right?
It is valuable. I don't know if it's $7,000, but it's valuable.
Could we not do the 7,200 for this year
And then possibly
investigate
move up
it
for
for
next year.
Would that be your recommendation?
Yes, I would say do that.
You got a question?
Yeah, I got a question. Are you doing these services, this type of insurance for other counties?
Actually, yes, we are. It just so happens that Robertson County is my only county, and I do about 9 counties as well as a lot of municipality business. I've been in the business 23 years. Robertson County is my last county that has not purchased cyber insurance.
Well, I'm curious to what the average is for the other 9 or 8 or whatever counties that it is that you're talking about. Do you have an idea what they're paying?
Robertson County is uniquely different than Murray County, that's uniquely different than Lake County, that's all the counties. So you have different operations and different expenditures. Right now, the quote in front of you is based upon the expenditure number that we pulled out of your audited financials. And this particular rating system, this BCS option that you guys have in front of you, is strictly based upon that. So whatever the expenditures are for the particular county, that premium is going to slot right in there.
Okay.
When you get into underwriting with AIG, that's a little bit different.
Okay, so what you're saying, based on the expenditures of our county, is how you plan the premium for technology, this technology policy that we're talking about. It's based on the expenditures, the size of the county's expenditures.
Yeah, that's what he said.
That is correct. This particular quote is, yes.
Okay, well then that makes sense. If they're
Well,
that's the way they're going to do it.
If we do what Chet's proposing, then, we won't have,
Could you go back to that page you were just, yeah, right there. $1 million. Cyber extortion, $1 million.
Security breach response
Business
coverage.
loss income, $1 million.
There are some additional limits on the next page, also, whoever's guiding that on the screen.
Okay.
Four attendance costs $100,000. Well, we got a recommendation by our IT director.
I'll make a motion, we accept it.
Second.
I've got a motion to approve by Commissioner Wade, and I've got a second by Commissioner Stubblefield. Ready to vote?
well,
Got a question?
are we talking about waiting another year before we consider the more comprehensive policy?
Yeah, I asked him,
Yeah.
and I think he said yes. Let's go with this year.
Well, I mean,
And he just went your contract.
feel like that's
Yes,
a
sir.
safe call for us.
Yes, sir, because it's the resources that both policies give us. They're both the same.
What do you mean, both policies?
Between our AIG policy and this BCS policy, the resources that they give us are the same.
When we have a
Resources as
problem,
far as
Yeah, if we have a
security
problem.
coach, forensic experts, and things like that. They're the same.
then, so next year, before we get to next year, I want a good understanding of why
That's
it's more
exactly right.
expensive.
That's right.
Okay? But I will tell you, that number doesn't scare me at all for my little accounting practice and what we're doing. I'm paying, when you look at the total of security and insurance, I'm paying that myself.
All right, so we've got a motion on the floor.
So
We got
I'm-
a second.
Second, yeah, you got it.
Question.
Question's been called for. Ready to vote? Commissioner Bowles? Commissioner Stubblefield?
Aye.
Commissioner Glover? Mr. Wade?
Aye.
The chair votes aye. The ayes have it.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you, Brandon.
Thanks, Brandon.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Next on the agenda is turn the floor over to our finance director, Jody Stewart.
Okay. I'll end up doing this budget amendment first. It's budget amendment number 41. The state auditors are already here. And this is a housekeeping item where we originally had put the money from the general fund, and we did a budget amendment, put it in the general fund to fund 171. Well, now it's just gonna go straight to sanitation, solid waste. And they just suggested to go ahead and do this budget amendment and clean out the revenue and expense coming and going. And
So this is just a general housekeeping.
yeah, they suggested, we were trying to figure it out. There's no point in making out two checks. A check going to general fund 171, and then we thought we're gonna do a cashless entry, and this just simplifies everything.
I'll entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
We've got a motion by Commissioner Glover. Do I have a second? Second by Commissioner Bowens. Any more questions? Vote. Commissioner Wade?
Aye.
Commissioner Glover?
Aye.
Commissioner Stubblefield?
Aye.
Commissioner Bowens? The chair votes aye, so the ayes have it.
Thank you. Okay, in front of you, I'll have your budget draft books. If you'll turn to page 19, we've got the county general fund, and y'all actually passed the budget. None of the expenses have changed, but I've been very concerned about the revenue, so I took the time and I went through all the revenues, fine-tuned them. Just about every single one of them changed. Looks like our property taxes are coming in the same as last year. I thought they'd only be like at 100.1%, but they're coming in at 100.2%. So basically, I went through everything and made all the changes, and it appears overall, out of all the line items on the revenues, they only changed by around $90,000. Because this was originally going to be $650,000 more expense than revenue. And you'll see that it's only $740,000 more expense in revenue.
So you are changing the budget.
I changed the revenue
So
budget.
you have went in and made changes to the revenue budget that you want us to approve.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Otherwise, we would go by the ones that was in the actual paper, the connection paper.
This has to be advertised?
No, because in the paper, it says that those numbers are subject to change prior to the meetings.
Okay.
This is another reason why I like to have
I
final
know,
numbers.
I know. She's trying to get it tight.
I worked on it all weekend, y'all, and I do feel a lot better about this budget.
You feel $90,000 better. Gosh.
Every line changed, and Lisa Cavender was right. General Sessions really took a dump on it. It dumped.
Don't doubt it.
I've got my, our wheel tax is coming back, and it's probably going to be better than what I estimated because she's got that June.
So there's a lot of little entries in a lot of different places that make up the 90,000.
Everything changed, yes.
On the
Everything
revenue
changed.
side.
Everything
So
changed.
we-
Some by a couple 100,000 up, some a couple 100,000 down.
Okay.
Do we need a motion to approve page 19 then?
It would actually be your pages 21 and 22, or the overall.
Just overall budget book.
General fund.
Move to approve the changes that have been made.
Okay.
I've got a motion to approve the changes that were made.
Second.
And I've got a second by Commissioner Glover.
I just like to ask a question.
Yeah.
So I know you did this, you updated it and brought it. So at the end of June, when we hit June 30, and the fiscal year is over, will you update this again?
No.
For a final, or this is just?
We'll have budget
This is it.
resolutions
Okay.
if we do it.
Once you pass this budget on the 22nd, that's it. That was kind of my big issue. I thought, oh, I've never done one like this before. I mean, I don't want every single line to be way off by hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
So I took the time and did the revenues, and feel confident that sure, there's going to be some that are going to be different, but what I come up with in the revenue and the expenses affects that ending fund balance. And my fund balance, I'm hoping, is still going to be better than this 11,000,009.
So we may be looking at several resolutions that we may,
We'll probably see more.
yeah,
Yes.
that's why. Question.
Ready to vote? Commissioner Wade?
Aye.
Commissioner Glover?
Aye.
Commissioner Stubblefield? Commissioner Bowens?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. The ayes have it.
Jody, thank you for doing that. I was working all weekend now.
Thank you all, and I
Thank-
did want to point out one more item. On page 81, I talked to the trustee, I think it was yesterday, Kendra Shelton, and on actually go to page 83, the next page. And if you come down midway under other local revenues, you'll see the interest earned. I had originally thought it was going to be 900,000, and because we should collect 997.90, but she told me, we discussed it, and she told me that she is now only receiving 1.1% interest. The interest rate collections are down on any revenues, any money sitting there. She was collecting 1.7.
We're lucky to be getting 1.5%. As cheap as money is right now.
But the ending fund balance on that one stayed basically the same. I had my, I think what went out with property taxes and that wheel tax. So I think it's a really good, solid budget.
Good deal. Is that all on the budget? All right, number 7 is, I'm going to turn the floor over to Commissioner Dennis Wade to discuss the county ambulance service department budget as compared to other counties in the state.
Okay, you should have a a little packet that has some information. It's going to have on top of it what looks like an email that I received from Gary Hayes. This is what it looks like. It's at the top of your package, and we do have the package stapled together, just trying to keep all these pages from getting outlined. We're not going to go over all of them. I've abbreviated this a little bit, but I'll be happy to answer any questions. I've requested about a month ago, or a month and a half ago, I requested some information on EMS and the budgets across the state and how we compare. I went to CTAS, and this Gary Hayes is the one that contacted me back and said he would help me with this project. I requested that he give me a list of all counties with populations from 50 to 100,000. And I wanted to see good numbers for each county for the same date, June 30th of June 30, 2019. I wanted to know, and he pulled them from the audit reports that are filed at the Secretary of State's office. So that's a number that's been tied down and is something we can pick up as close as we can to compare apples and apples between the different counties. I wanted comparable size because I figured that was the only other way that was easy for him to get the numbers. I thought about call volume for an ambulance service. I've thought about numbers of employees, numbers of hours. I thought of a lot of different things that might be a part of eventually an analysis of how effective our service is as compared to others. But those were going to take a lot longer to get and a lot more involved, and I just decided that wasn't what I was for. I'm looking for a quick way to look at them. So on the next page behind that, you're going to have a report that says cost to county for ambulance services. It's a few columns across. The counties that they gave me, and they provided me, and I'll talk more about that in a minute, they provided me a list of counties. They gave me, I dropped in the cities because I didn't know where all these counties were, but I knew the cities. I dropped in the population, and I dropped in the revenue. And you'll see that they gave me a sum a little less than 50 and some a little more. One of them's more. Then they gave me the revenue that was collected. Now, this is where I ran into problems on some of the reports that came from the state. Some counties, in their audit report, include their funding to the EMS in that audit report. I don't know why one does and one doesn't, but I wanted to make sure that when I got to a bottom number, the last number in the column, that it was truly what the county had to fund for that service to balance. So I took their revenue coming from patient revenue, and I took their expenditures, total expenditures, and I just laid them out. And net cost is just the difference in those two. And I got to look at down the list at how we compare to everybody else. And as you can see, we're $2.5 million, and there's the closest one to us is $1.7 million, and that's Dixon County. Well, ain't it interesting that it's a county so close to us and so close to Nashville? So I thought, well, maybe there is some relationship on why we're spending so much because of salaries. So I thought, well, I'll watch for that. But I also went down and I found counties that were a good bit bigger than us, and some even smaller than us that were, had more revenue coming in than we did. And that's the thing to look at. Revenue for Robertson is $2.4 million, and you can look at these other counties, and there's some counties a lot smaller than us that are bringing in more revenue. So my point is, what I did is I looked at them and I picked 4 counties that I was going to look deeper into to compare. And that's as Bradley, Dixon, Jefferson, and Sevier. One of the things I found while going through the reports and trying to make sure I've got to have apples and apples was I looked to see what was included on all these counties' reports. And was there something on their report that wasn't on ours? Or did we have something that they didn't have? And the big thing that jumped out like a sore thumb is every county had health insurance on it, their employee health insurance, and we don't. So our $2.5 million deficit now becomes $2.9 million because about 410,000 is what the new estimate is on what our health insurance would be for those. And just so y'all know, Jody's indicated to me that she's wanting to start putting these numbers on all the different budgets so that the department heads can have that number to see what the total cost is. But if in business, when I'm looking at something, I look at what's coming in, what's going out. And is this making sense? Well, when I got in there, I found out it wasn't making sense. And one of the big things is we were leaving out a big number. So we're not $2.5 million, we're $2.9 million is where we really are. Okay, if you go to the next page, it's a listing of counties again. And all I'm doing is to point out this report, the one I just showed you, I did. That's me doing my spreadsheet. And I just pulled the numbers off these reports that the state gave me. And you'll see the individual reports in a minute. But these are 16 counties that they sent me that's supposed to fall within that range. And they go from East Tennessee to West. There's not a overly big focus in one area. But they're across the state. There are 16 counties, and there was 2 counties they provided me in that mix that do not have an ambulance service. They must be, and it looks like from some of the numbers I can see, that they're paying a contribution to a third party to provide ambulance service for their county. And I'm not, you can look at those counties, I'll tell you their names so you have it. It's Carter and Hawkins. Those counties would be interesting to look at later and see what they're paying. Okay, when you look at, I want to ask you to pull out, I think it's the next to the, or look at the next to the last page in your package. And that is Robertson County. Next to the last. And up at the top, it'll say Robertson County. Let me know when you got it. Okay, what this is the sheet where they pulled the audit report information, and this is what they created. And it shows the revenue at the top, and it shows the population. So we got 71,000 people. We're bringing in 2.5 million almost. I went in and added up just the cost of labor because I wanted to see how that compared to everybody. And we're spending about $3.5 million on employee salaries. We have, and as I said, we've got another 410,000 that's not on this report that will be on the others. If you go down the page, I looked at maintenance and repairs, and there, we spent about 178,000. We've got other contracted services that I'm not sure what that is, but there's other contracted services out there. Drugs and medical supplies, gasoline, and workers' comp. Those are some of the key ones I looked at because they were big enough numbers to make me catch my attention. Okay, so we're looking at that one. Just keep your finger there. Now turn to from the top page, turn back 8 pages. Count 8, and it should be Bradley County.
I'm on double-sided. I double-sided these.
Well, 8 pages back. 1, 2, 1, front, back, y'all. I didn't know she double-sided, but that's a smart thing to do, save paper. Bradley County is Cleveland, Tennessee. It has a population of 106,727. And they've collected $4,283,000 in patient charges. That's a little over $2 million more than we collected. Their salaries, when you compare their total salaries to our total salaries, they're real close to us. They're only about $4,000 higher than us. If you look at the insurance for their employees, where we're spending 410, they're doing about 585,000. So they got a little bit richer plan, I guess, than we do. When you look at the bottom line, we're spending 2.9 million. That county's spending 1.5 million. So there's a swing of $1,330,000. We're spending more than Bradley County, and they are bigger than us, and we're spending more.
We got a collection problem is what it looks like.
Yeah, if you look, you'll see that as we go through here.
Yeah.
Collections looks like an issue. Now, if any time you want to stop me, but I'm going on to page 13.
What county is it?
13 from the front.
From front, and it should be Cumberland County. Everybody finding Cumberland?
Right after coffee.
I'm getting there.
Yeah, you got the package I gave you the other day.
Yes, I do.
Okay. I hope it hasn't changed since then. Cumberland. Okay. Okay. Now, Cumberland County, 59,673, and we're 71. Their patient charges are $4,043,886. We're $2,004,000.
Revenue problems.
Revenue.
Collection problems, what we got.
Yep. If you look down at the state retirement and the other stuff, everything else, I didn't go through and add up everything, but this is one that sort of stood out to me when I was just flipping through the other day. 59,000 population. It's Cumberland County is what? Who did I say? Oh, yeah, Crossville. That's Crossville. I don't know why they would be so much more in billing than us when a smaller county in some respects. When you get down to the bottom line, it's costing that county $92,000 to provide ambulance service. That's less than a penny of our rate. Our rate does penny does 172. So if this was our numbers, we'd be giving less than a penny. What are we currently giving the ambulance service?
17?
On the $5 million budget, is that what you're talking about?
Yes. Our budget this year, how many pennies are we giving to their budget? It's one of the questions I would ask if I was as a commissioner and as a resident of this county.
Okay, their budget this year for 21 is $5,502,714. Divided by 172.
Take out the patient charges. Make sure you're getting it down to the net number.
The patient charges are, you're saying 2,004,000 or?
You take those expenditures less the 2,004,000, then divide by 172. Okay, while she's doing that, let's move to Dixon. It's page 14 in your packet.
18 cents.
18 cents of the tax rates going to EMS. Okay, Dixon, this is one I thought would probably be real similar to us in a lot of ways. I looked at the revenue they're bringing in. They're bringing in $2,082,000. They're at $53,000. I think they ought to be doing this same study that we are when you look at what Cumberland County's doing. But when you look at the two, we are $394,000 higher than Dixon. Okay? They're doing $2,415,000 in salaries. We're doing $3,530,000. Okay? Not that much difference in revenue, but, pretty healthy difference in salaries.
But they're at least 20 to 25,000 people less in the county too.
Well, then that tells me if there's less people, then I can see where, yes, but why are we only $394,000 higher than them? There's let me point out something to you. All I've done is a real quick and dirty look at how these counties compare. Because it's not rocket science here. We are all providing an ambulance service, the ones that we're looking at. All I'm saying is there's enough questions about how are they doing this, it's different than us, and can we learn something? You'll hear in a minute what I'm going to propose to help us with that, okay? So what I'm looking at, they're $1,115,000. Dixon is over $1 million less than us on salaries, $1.1 million. We are only $394,000 more in revenue, and the life insurance and the other stuff all are very comparable. They are also doing overtime pay, which is $480,000. And if you'll look at the other budgets that I've given you, you'll notice that it looks like the other counties are not paying or have a big deal of you're guaranteed this many hours of overtime for this amount of money. It looks to me on these other counties that they got a pay plan that says this is what you're worth and what you're going to be paid for your 40-hour week. This is your hourly rate. And if you work over, you're going to get time and a half, and not having this 846 hours that we've got in our plan, one budget line item for that number. So I think there's opportunities, and I'll talk about it more, to work on the pay plan a little bit. I think might be some opportunities there, if nothing else, to simplify it for employees. I've seen in a couple of meetings how it's complicated to commissioners and to some of our employees that are over there. They like it though, and I understand why. Okay, let's look at the last county. I got two counties. Jefferson County. Jefferson is.
Is it past?
Who?
Is it past Dixon?
Jefferson is number 20. Yes. Jefferson County has 54,000 people. Their revenue is $3,410,000 from patients. That's $934,000 more than Robertson County. Smaller county, more revenue. What would be the city in Jefferson County? We looked it up and I didn't write it down. Any of you know? I'd like to know which city that is.
Jefferson City.
Jefferson City, that's right. I remember you saying it yesterday. $934,000 more revenue. They have $3,080,000 in payroll. We're $3,005,000. Billing more, paying less, and about $450,000 less than we are. Everything else is pretty consistent. I think there's opportunities in other areas on expenses to look at some stuff. Workers' comp I thought was pretty much equal across the board. I would say workers' comp is based on regular time. If most workers' comp policies, if you've got employees and you're working on time and a half, they take the half that's premium off and only bill you for workers' comp on the regular. I'm just curious what's happening with our overtime.
That's exactly right.
Okay.
You're not billed at 100% of it.
I'd love to see the schedule and how they're coming up with the overtime. Like and I'm just throwing it out. Bubba made the comment about you could have two employees working this guy was on the shift. He took a medical off. He's getting paid time and a half. Someone comes in to take the shift and he's getting paid time and a half. How in the world are they keeping up and reconciling all that for the workers' comp auditor? I know that can be difficult unless the accounting system is tracking it by employee.
I'm going to say it's being tracked by employee when it goes through the payroll system.
All I would say is I've learned to just prove it to me so that I can see it, so I can feel confident that it is being done. I'm just saying there's some things here I'm learning and that would be one thing. If I was a department head, I'd want to know how are we doing it and are we being overcharged on workers' comp? Go further. We're now looking at, that was Jefferson County. You know, you see the bottom line, $1,005,000. We're at $2,009,000. Sevier County, $97,000. They're bigger than us. So we got two in here that are bigger than us. Sevier County is, that, huh? That's Sevierville, that's Dolly's county. Now, we don't know what Dolly's giving to the ambulance service. She might be she's buying books for all the kids and stuff. And I was reading an article today about her and the schools and what she does. Anyway, long story short, we're at 2,000,004. They're at a 3,000,006. They're collecting 1,172,000 more than us. They got a payroll of 3,440,000. Okay. That's 89,000 less than us, very close to us. That's the reason I think that when we finally get down to the bottom line, we're going to find that our pay rates, I'm not saying they're higher or lower. I'm saying we might be in the ballpark once you take out this overtime deal they got and just take it back straight. They got employee insurance of 484. That's pretty close to what we're doing. They got a contract with private agencies. This is, I didn't see that too many times on other reports.
Billing. That's the billing company.
I'm just wondering if that's what that is.
That's what ours is.
Yeah, I was wondering if that's what that was, if that's just the money we're paying out to somebody to bill it and collect it. Well, it's going to be interesting to compare who those agencies are and see what's being done different than us, is my opinion. But where I'm at, I've just presented you all of the budget committee with the information I was able to accumulate with a few phone calls. I made a comment. I've shared this with Don and a few folks, but I hadn't. It's the first time it's been presented to the budget in the whole county. Anybody's on the call. What I propose is the following. I think the budget committee should request that the EMS committee make a 6-month study of our department against others across the state of Tennessee. Focusing on collections and billing. What changes and what are they doing elsewhere that we are not doing? Why have they got maybe a better collection rate ratio than we do? Look at the expenditures, specifically not to maybe that we're going to get a big savings, but maybe simplifying the payroll plan for the EMS. And then finally, I think there's other places that as they study and go deeper than I could go, when they get into asking like number of call volume for an EMS system, I'm real interested in what, if they're doing that much more revenue, what's their call volume compared to ours? And those are numbers I couldn't get. What I'd like to do is turn this over to them 6 months from June the 15th. They come back with a report to the budget committee and the county commission on what they've learned.
Are you making that in the form of a
I'm
motion?
making that in form of a motion for us.
Will you entertain adding something to that?
Yeah, anything.
I would like to price out what it would be to go private,
Contract agency.
a contracted agency.
Okay.
I just feel like while they're doing due diligence on that part,
It's
we
a
can
part of it.
That's part of it.
That's part of it. We ought to always look at all options, and I agree.
So if you're okay with that,
I'm okay. If they add that piece of it, do a study on going private with counties that have done that.
So that's your motion.
Mm-hmm.
Second that. Any more discussion or questions?
Any questions?
Tell me exactly what the motion is.
We have requesting from this committee, we're requesting from the EMS committee that they take what I started and just take it further.
And fellowship for another 6 months.
Yes, they've got 6 months. Because what I see happening here is if these committee people get involved, they'll be talking to directors of EMS, or the EMS director here might get out and do a tour of counties to see and talk to them specifically. But come back with solid recommendations, if not change, explaining why. And in the final part with this, that they also come back with what would it cost, we wanted to go out with and sub all of our service out to a third party.
Yeah, revenue, each one of the county, is that collected revenue?
It's
or
the audit report revenue. It's whatever their audit report shows.
Okay.
And we all should be doing it the same.
So you don't know for the collective, whether that.
I didn't ask.
Bill.
All I could get my hands on quick was audit reports. So hopefully all the counties are consistent. But that's the question that when they get into the analysis, if they find this over here accruing and we're not doing it, then we need to be doing it. We'd look better. But in the bottom, what you gotta keep in mind is whatever that negative number is at the bottom, somebody's gotta make it up some point in time.
So is there a date you want the MS committee to report back to the budget committee?
6 months from today.
6 months.
6 months from June 15th.
6 months from June
That'd be
15th.
December 15th. What I'll be honest, the reason I put some dates on it, we don't want to get into the middle of budgets next year talking about this, because then it'll be another year before we get anything done. I think this needs to be on fast paced, and I wouldn't be surprised if they don't come to us and say, hey, this is a lot of work, we got to hire a consultant. And we need to be open to the idea of talking to them about that.
All right, so I've got a motion on the floor and I've got a second. Is there any more questions or discussion? Ready to vote? Let's vote. Commissioner Wade?
Aye.
Commissioner Bowens? Commissioner Glover? Commissioner Stubblefield?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. The ayes have it on that.
Before we move on,
Yes, sir.
would Don want to say anything?
Don, do you have anything you want to add or say?
Yeah, I'll say a couple of things. Thank you for the workload. But first, Mr. Chairman, I want to thank Dennis for this initial work that he did where he drew these numbers together off the audited statements. He was kind enough, Keith, to give me this packet yesterday, and I've spent a good deal of today digesting it and analyzing it, and I've found out that these audited numbers are what they are, but inside them, sometimes things look very different. I've already found out that a couple of counties, including in their revenue, a portion of the property tax that makes the revenue go up. Now, I'm not saying that we should do it like that. I'm not saying that all of them do it like that, but I am saying that we accept this. We'll do the very best that we can, and I think there won't be a need for a consultant. I want to bring the committee up to speed as soon as we have our next meeting. I've already talked to Rick Jensen. Matter of fact, he and I getting together tomorrow. I want to give him a copy of what you gave me, Dennis, and we're off and running. I think this is a great idea. I think that it's long overdue. So I'm looking forward to it.
Well, I just want to volunteer if Rick has any questions of me, what I did and how I got my numbers and all the rest, I'll share with you what I know.
Thanks, Don. And Commissioner Wade, thanks for the work. That's a lot of numbers you got in there, so it's definitely a lot of hours spent, I'm sure. All right, the last thing on the agenda I have is on June the 4th, last Thursday, Commissioner Wade and myself met with William and Aaron, the owners of the Dr. Plaza building here, and you'll see number 8 here is just a few pages of a very thick book of Mark Young real estate appraisals. So we met with them, and they are ready to sell their building. And they gave us a price finally of $460,000, which just happens to be exactly what it appraised for. There was some discussion. She will need to lease the building for a minimum of a year. Is that correct? Mm-hmm. At $4,000 a month back from the county if we decided to go that route. There is another tenant in there that is leasing. Don't know if he'll stay or not, but he's leasing it for $374 a month. Commissioner Wade suggested it be a triple net lease, which is very beneficial to the county, and they agreed upon that, which anything that goes wrong with that building is on them. They would have to, if the roof, air conditioners, all that, and while they're leasing the premises, it's on them. They pay the insurance. County is listed as additional insured. She gets to keep the parking while her business is still going, though. She's, I think her plan, she told us she was looking to buy a piece of property and build. Is that correct?
That's right. That's what she told us.
So we're bringing it to y'all tonight to discuss and see where we want to move on this. And I see we got our building and grounds chairman that joined us via online. So
We can take the WIC building with you. I don't know nothing about the WIC building.
is that going to be another one to be sold?
Now, he's so wants to.
Well, I know the time is not great for this building, but I know Building and Grounds voted to sell the old Tractor Supply building. So we know eventually that building will be sold, and it just makes sense to get a piece of property directly across the street from us. And if we don't buy it, this building will be for sale.
She's going to sell it.
She's going to sell it. So it's in our court. We can buy it, or we can pass on it and let somebody else have it.
And to be honest, the leasing back and that actually helped her and overcome her problem with the price. She wanted more than this, but we can't give more than the price paid. So we was able to, we don't need it right away, and she could stay there until she could get that building built.
And she is going to keep her business in Robertson County.
In Robertson County. We did ask her to stay in Robertson County. She does plan to stay here.
Is there a time limit on how long she leaves?
Yes.
I mean,
She's got a
drop dead date.
Yeah, drop dead date of December 31st, 2021.
She has to be out by the end of 2021.
okay, because I was going to say, a year's not enough time for her to find a piece of property. And
Well, she's got to found the property.
Yeah.
She's already,
Oh,
from what I understand, she's well on the way with the plans and all that.
she's farther along than just thinking this is what I need.
She told us if we had to close in 60 days or 90 days, and there was something, and she said, well, I need a little bit more time to tie things down. We just said, well, what's it going to take? And as we talked, we were able to work it so that she didn't feel like she had to get out immediately.
This puts our net cost in that building, I think after we ran all the numbers, about $404,000 when she leaves, because she's, that's a very fair rent. So.
And it's not like we
don't need the office space.
No, we don't necessarily need the office space, but the land and the parking is going to be an issue some point in time for us.
So I'm going to recommend that we buy the building. If it leaves this committee tonight and we vote on it, then we're going to have to ask for Building and Grounds to have a special called meeting before our commission meeting.
So that we can present it the first time.
That's your motion.
I don't want to make that motion, but that would be my recommendation.
Mr. Hoover, before you make the motion, can I say something?
You sure can, Commissioner
I'm
Hogan.
on buildings and grounds. I think it's a good move for our county to purchase that lot, especially for future development. We will be able to sell it if we have to in the future. I think it's a great deal for our county, and I think we should be in a position to do that and help this person also extend her livelihood in this county. So if it was brought before me today, being a member of Buildings and Ground, I would definitely vote yes.
Well, that is good to hear. We appreciate your support.
I so move.
I've got a motion by Commissioner Glover to purchase the Doctor's Plaza for $460,000 and lease it back to her for a drop dead date by December 31st, 2021.
Who's talking? What's going on?
All right, so I have a motion by Commissioner Glover to purchase the building. I've got a second by Commissioner Bowens. Is there any more discussion?
Question.
Question's been called for. Let's vote. Commissioner Stubblefield?
Yes.
Commissioner Bowens? Commissioner Glover?
Aye.
Commissioner Wade?
Aye.
Chair votes aye, so the ayes have it. We will ask for Building and Grounds to call a special call meeting before the county commission. Is there a certain time? I see Eric's on there, Commissioner Hogan and Mr. Bowens, and
I apologize. My computer's gone crazy.
that's fine. That's fine. Can you call a meeting before the county commission meeting, 6 o'clock or whatever
Yeah,
time?
yeah, we can call it, whatever time we need to on Monday night if we need to. I know I've got an animal control. I believe it's 6:20, but I could call this and it's 6 o'clock. It won't take long, I don't think, to get this through, because I think this is a great opportunity for the county.
6 o'clock, okay, for you two guys and Commissioner Hogan? He's still there? Yeah.
I'm sorry, what day?
That'd be, I think it's the 15th, is it? Monday the
Monday.
15th is when we're having a county commission
County
meeting.
commission meeting.
So we'll be doing it, I guess, via remotely from here
6 and 6.
There's an animal control meeting.
at 6:20. Yeah. But this shouldn't take very long. So 6 o'clock?
Yeah.
All right.
6 o'clock?
He's froze up again.
He said 6.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, I'm sure it will.
That's all I've got. Anybody else got anything? Mayor, you have anything?
No, I'm good.
Well, thank you all for such a fast budget being passed.
It's been different.
I will entertain a motion to adjourn then.
Very different.
I got a motion. I got a second. All those in favor say aye.
Thank you all.
Thanks, everybody.